Tuesday night, the Lawton City Council amended and passed a zoning ordinance affecting data centers in the I-1 districts. The proposal changed during the meeting, public comment was taken, and the meeting transcript shows exactly when that change occurred.
They are finding after they are doing research.
Also tonight, Lawton has been without a permanent city attorney for approximately 1 year. And overseas, U.S. forces are engaged in ongoing military operations following a coordinated strike against Iran with Israel. 3 stories. We begin with the ordinance.
To look at every situation individually.
Agenda item 24 addressed proposed zoning changes related to data centers in the I-1 restricted manufacturing and warehouse districts.
They use air cool.
As read into the record, the ordinance initially proposed allowing data centers up to 5 megawatts as permitted use in I-1 zoning. Facilities greater than 5 megawatts would require what is called a use permitted on review. That was the starting framework presented to Council. During the staff presentation, the item was described as having previously been tabled. Staff stated they prepared what they described as the most restrictive ordinance that could draft while still meeting state statute.
Yes, Mayor, that was a long title. Thank you for reading that. Yes, we're here again because this item was tabled. We did hear last council meeting a presentation from Richard Rogowski regarding data centers, and so we're bringing this code back today. This is the exact same code we presented before with the 5 megawatt kind of distinguished between permitted use and use permitted on review. Based off of the comments and stuff like that we've heard, we've had some staff discussion, and we've prepared a ordinance that we feel is the most restrict we could go by still meeting state statute. And so we would recommend that a data center and data asset mining with a peak electrical demand of not greater than 2 megawatts be allowed as a permitted use in I-1. And then anything greater than 2 would be a use permitted on review in I-4. And again, a use permitted on review would require 2 public hearings, a hearing in front of this City Planning Commission and a public hearing in front of City Council. And that would also be a binding site plan, so it would be a case-by-case basis, and that would give the City Council and the City Planning Commission ways to answer questions, add conditions for each circumstance that we maybe come across. Sure, yes.
Richard, did you have anything you wanted to say? Okay, I do have a question, and I like this, and from what I understand, your recommendation and the suggested motion that's been handed out is the most restrictive we can be and still comply with state law. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I want to repeat that. This motion that I'm sure somebody up here is going to make is the most restrictive we can be and still comply with state law.
Yes, sir. That's what we've come up with.
Okay.
And ran it by legal and everything.
That sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Now I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Because that takes care of things inside the city limits.
Mm-hmm.
Staff then recommended lowering the threshold from 5 megawatts to 2 megawatts. Under that recommendation, data centers not greater than 2 megawatts would remain a permitted use in I-1. Facilities greater than 2 megawatts would require use permitted on review. Staff clarified the process includes a public hearing before the Planning Commission, public hearing before the City Council, and approval of a binding site plan. The ordinance ultimately adopted reflected the amended structure.
The only sound is the cooling system.
Staff also clarified this action is a zoning change that applies within the city limits. It does not regulate property outside the city's jurisdiction. Public comments followed. 6 residents addressed the council. Speakers raised a range of concerns including water use, electrical demand, noise impacts, environmental considerations, and alternative
This
cities
causes so many
proposals,
psychological and long-term
including
learning
FISTA.
issues with kids.
Those comments are part of the
Seriously, I
public
just don't have
record.
enough time to talk about it all.
The
I did go through also, I made y'all a bunch of maps to show what the crop density looks like, the livestock density, current drought conditions. I got a nice graph
full
here from
public
Pew
comment
Research
segment
showing
has
how
been
much
published
energy consumption
unedited
has gone up
on our
and how
YouTube
much is
channel.
projected to continue to go up.
Following
It's not coming
discussion,
down. It's
the
just gonna
amended
get worse.
ordinance
And
was
with
brought
these,
to a
data
vote.
centers, we're looking at 40%
The measure
increase in just
passed
a couple
5 to
years.
3, with council members Hooton, Brown, Epps, Williams, and Ward voting yes, council members Hampton, Demery, and Wedger voting no. As of tonight, the 2 megawatt threshold remains in effect. Before we move on, here's where the data center ordinance stands tonight. The city amended the threshold to 2 megawatts for data centers in the I-1 district. Facilities above that threshold require use permitted upon review. That means 2 public hearings, one before the Planning Commission and one before the City Council. And it requires approval of a binding site plan. No specific project was approved as part of this vote. Now to our second story. Lawton has been without a permanent city attorney since February of 2025. The city attorney serves as the chief legal advisor to the City Council and City Administration. The position provides legal guidance on ordinances, contracts, and policy decisions, and represents the city in legal matters. Here is the timeline. In October 2023, John Ratliff, who previously served as city attorney, was appointed city manager. In April of 2024, John Andrew was appointed city attorney. In February of 2025, Andrew resigned. Following that resignation, Tim Wilson served as acting city attorney. In October of 2025, the City Council appointed former Oklahoma Lieutenant Governor Jerry Askins as interim city attorney. As of early 2026, the city has been without a permanent city attorney for approximately 1 year. City officials have indicated the search remains ongoing. No timeline for a permanent appointee has been publicly announced. That is where that position stands tonight. Turning now to international developments. Early Saturday, Israel and the United States announced that it had launched a preemptive strikes against targets inside Iran. Explosions were reported in Tehran. The United States confirmed involvement in military operations. Iran responded with missile launches toward Gulf states that host U.S. military forces and facilities. Air defense systems were activated across the region. Officials have described the situation as ongoing. What has not been publicly confirmed: a full list of targets, verified damage assessments, or confirmed casualty totals across all locations. For southwest Oklahoma, there is a local context. Fort Sill is home to the United States Army Air Defense Artillery School. Major overseas military operations can affect deployment and readiness communications within military communities. As of tonight, no Fort Sill specific changes have been publicly announced. This remains a developing situation. Here's where things stand tonight. The Lawton City Council amended the data center ordinance to a 2 megawatt threshold in the I-1 district. Facilities above that threshold require a use permitted on review, including 2 public hearings and a binding site plan. Lawton has been without a permanent city attorney since February of 2025. The interim appointment remains in place, and no public hiring timeline has been announced. Internationally, U.S. military operations in the Middle East are ongoing. No Fort Sill specific changes have been publicly announced. All documents referenced in this episode are posted exactly as received. Extracted highlights are provided for ease of review and are not a substitution for the record. I'm Garrett Jackson. This is the Sunday Evening Crier. Thank you for watching. and I'll see you at City Hall.